Welcome to the Justin Johnson Show. Today I'm going to be doing part 2 of consistency of cold calls and the benefits of that. If you didn't watch the video that we posted 2 weeks ago, part 1 is the benefits of consistent cold calling and making yourself an expert and starting to build that trust in making contacts with people. Today I'm going to discuss really just extra tips of being able to stay consistent, which is the overall arching benefit of you have to do it. Don't not do your cold calls. Make them or whatever you want to deem as your keeping in contact with your existing clients, but also reaching out to new clients to expand your business. I think the first thing I wanted to discuss today was keeping your pipeline full. Now you hear that, if you're in sales, you hear that a lot. If you're an owner of a company, you know what that means too, because the pipeline in sales ends up being, you have to be consistent at doing it. It's a pipeline of contacts and people and deals that are going to close. And if you take vacation time, if you take, I'm so stacked, your pipeline is full, and you take off a couple weeks from doing it to finish up and get things done, there's always I guess I'd say, so let's say you do that, you took 2 weeks off. In real estate, it's about maybe 90 to 120 days delay from when you're making your cold calls and closing deals. And so that's not going to show up next week. The bad habits are already showing up, right? Because you're not doing it. But you're going to see that 90 to 120 days out is when you're going to start to manifest those things. And so if you haven't been down that road before, the tips to stay consistent, that's a great reminder to just stay focused, realizing that when you don't make those calls now, and there's different cycles in different businesses, but in real estate, and I would say it's a longer transaction cycle, so 90 to 120 days, maybe even out to 150, 180 days. It's going to show up at that point, right? And you can be like, man, I was doing everything, and maybe you're working and doing your cold calls then, and you're having this dry spell of actual closings and money coming in. So the number one thing is just having very simple, clear-cut goals, broken down, I think, on a weekly basis, right? Things do come up during the week, and let's say you made your calls on Monday, Tuesday ended up being a crazy day, and so the point is, oh my gosh, you don't beat yourself up because you missed a day. You got to say, look, I'm going to make my cold calls. This is how many I'm going to make this week. And then sometimes you just find that it's not the optimal way to do it, but the goal is make the calls, and if you're just not exceeding or not even meeting those goals, and maybe you just put too heavy of a period of goals in there, I'm going to call 50 people, which whatever that is. If you can't make 50 people and it's 40 people you're consistently doing, I'm not saying back down, either figure out a way to get to 50 or revisit it. It's important that you're more consistent, and then you'll see the benefits come out with that, and then maybe step it up later. But the point is, have a clear-cut goals. Not just, and I think it's important, you got to identify the people that you want to make the contacts with. So whether that's a regional area, a certain product type that you're calling, do it, because that's what will build up the consistency, that you'll get in the rhythm throughout the week of talking about a certain product or certain type of real estate or whatever else you're selling. Now, I've heard different people, so this is not something I've come up with, but I found it to be an amazing way to do it, and that is blocking your time, right? So you just don't say, well, I'm gonna make my cold calls in the morning or something like that. When you block a timeout, what you're doing is you're going to block 2 hours, very minimum, an hour and a half. If you can do 2 hours, maybe have a little bit of a break and then come back and then another hour. 3 hours to me is a perfect day if I can make that, and 3 hours in that block period, right? So I'm not saying, hey, I did take a break, I got a drink, I'm coming back, I'm hitting it. So so I got to make another hour. Not, you're blocking the 3 hours out, and during that time, you don't do anything else, right? You just turn the notifications on your phone off. You're making your calls. If people are stacking up at your door and they're, hey, I've got this little thing, you just got to stick with that so that people know that you don't interrupt you during that time period. And don't be, I saw something here, looking things up on your phone, or, 15, 20 minutes can go by and you totally wasted that time. So when I say block your time out, time block, whatever that is, even if it's 45 minutes and that's the time that you can block out, block that out. Don't let anything get in your way. Don't take, hopefully, unless it's an emergency, you can have your spouse or significant other not call you during that time period. Whatever it is, it's sacred time, more important than any other thing that you're doing. Now, this comes down, so I would say you use whatever technology you can plug into is a benefit. And I've got several different programs that I use to track the information that I'm doing, track the location of real estate that I'm calling on. But for me, the easiest way to do it, of all the things that I just barely laid out here before, is I print a list out. So I've got a list of somewhere between 20 and 40 people. And it may have some landlords in it, some tenants, things like that, but I'm generally calling on a specific property type. And so I know exactly how far I got, what I can do in that day. So I print that out. It's got a little area that I can make notes in. And the reason I want that is because I found if I'm on my computer, I see emails coming in. I see all the other things that are popping up. I've got my other windows open. Here's that spreadsheet. I need to finish my spreadsheet. So I found for me, just print it out. Don't mess with my computer. I'm making calls on my phone, which can be a little bit of a problem because I do have things that are popping up on my phone, but I can silence them. That's what I'd recommend. But for me, printing out that list of 20 people, I can gauge how many I'm doing, how well I'm doing, and make the notes right there. Later in the day, I can go back and fill that in. Sometimes I don't get to all that. I'll put that off. Even further in the week, maybe I'll make it up on the weekend. So I got, an hour on the weekend. I can hurry and go back, enter that stuff into my contact management program, and keep those relationships going. So why is this important, right? I mean, this is something that I've actually taken 2 podcasts to go through. First of all, I think it's important for so many reasons that I've already stated. But here are the direct benefits, right? Here's the conclusion of this, and this is why it's so important and how it'll benefit you in whatever business you're in. I promise that. Consistency is a muscle, the way I look at it, right? You've got muscle memory. If you go to the gym every morning, you are accomplishing something, right? Or if you go 3 times a week, whatever it is that you do, if you can be consistent in your stuff, in all of your endeavors and what you do, there's satisfaction that comes with that, and that that you are staying on track with that. Now, I hear people say that all the time about going to the gym. It's like, man, I only made it to the gym twice last week, or whatever it is, and they say, I just don't feel as good if I miss the day. This is how it will be. If you can actually become consistent at doing this, you will know and feel like you're off otherwise. And so I think that is the number one thing you can actually do, the benefit that comes from it. So in conclusion, number one, you are going to build that muscle memory. You're going to have that consistency that you build up, and that is what you're trying to get. And even though you can start that in about maybe a week or 2, you did pretty good. I think it takes a good month of doing that. So you need 4 or 5 weeks to where you made your calls and you set I say every day, but if you made it 3 times a week, you would be killing it. I promise that. The second thing and of course now this applies to just pretty much anything, not just real estate, but there's a reward that you get just more fluid it's just easier to talk to people. You'll find, whenever anybody starts making their calls or they talk, number one, that's how you got to make the call. It's got to be easy conversation. You're calling people that you know or maybe know, or they know you. You've had some contact in the past. You're trying to build that trust up. And so don't call trying to make a hard sell. You got to be comfortable in asking those questions, right? That's really what it comes down to. I'm not like calling up and saying, hey, I'm Justin Johnson. I'm going to drive this home and, I want to sell you this property. I've just listed this property. That's not the point, right? I rarely sell. I start asking them what their needs are, what they have, long-term, short-term range, where their business is at, things like that. And just offer my services. If right out of the gate you're talking about what their needs would be for real estate and they're saying, hey, listen, I really don't do this stuff. I actually don't do this stuff. My wife does it or my partners do it. Don't waste the time trying to talk to that person. You can still build trust and be professional in getting off. Number 3, you're going to have better market information. So no matter what you're in, you're going to have to talk about the market with people. Hey, where's things at? Where's real estate going? I mean, that's every conversation. And so you're not BSing. There's lots of programs you can see where the market's at. If you're doing your deals, where actual deals are being cut and different product types, things like that. And what the market expectations are. Is there free rent? Are landlords not willing to do that? Are they willing to give a higher tenant improvement allowance? Those types of things that the market's kind of demanding, you get a better understanding of that. And there's something that happens magically when you actually have a conversation with customers or clients about that brings, that natural process out of where the market is at, where things are going. The last several weeks, since the election and since President Trump was in, there's a lot of pent up encouragement, I guess. People feel like, hey, you know what, there's a lot of great things that could happen. So it will change from time to time. Elections always seem to do that both ways. That's the same here. Number 4, you get to know your client. So you make notes after the call or whatever you're doing, but you do understand, there's not a cookie cutter of who these people are and what their needs are, right? They have all sorts of different issues and time. Some people do want to talk about it. I'm amazed at how often people will bring up their family, their kids, why they're trying to do something, what they're doing with their business, whether kids want to take it over. All those things are important. And I actually have a pretty good memory. I can remember things that people told me. I still do make notes from time to time after the call, like key things that I want to make, but be more comfortable. Learn the market because you're having that conversation, but you are going to learn who your client is and potential client, right? You're making the cold calls. You want to build them into that. You learn more about them, who they are, but also what their needs are and what they're trying to accomplish. So the next time you talk to them and you bring those things up, you are, they're like, hey, I can't believe that guy remembered that. He actually made it a key point to pick up kind of where we left off, and he either provided something or was looking at that. It's huge. You want to convey to that person that you're getting to know better, that you really are an expert in whatever field you're in, that you know what you're talking about, that you're not having the same conversation because the market's changed. Oh, you know what? Vacancies are rising right now in office, and I don't know if we've hit that high level vacancy yet. It might continue to rise. It's taken a lot longer to lease up office, whatever it might be. These are the types of things that you convey your expertise in the market. That's, you just can't do a download in the first conversation unless they're ready to go right then. But we're talking about the benefits of it and the benefits of consistency. You become that expert in the market, in the minds, which is what you want to be. To me, the single most important thing that you can do is make your calls. Now, you can call them cold calls, warm calls. I have found, I do make my cold calls because I'm talking to people that I don't know yet every day. But there's a lot of people that I talk to that I know they're even using other agents and for different things, but I'm still calling in to check in with them. let them know that I'm still doing it. And so, I mean, I've had conversations with people for years that I've leased their property, maybe even through their agent. They call me to ask me questions, and I've maybe helped them do some things that are not deal related. The point is, it's the single most important thing that you can do. And somehow we get into this rhythm of, when I talked about that muscle memory of things that make us feel accomplished, if you can build it upon this one to have it be the most important thing that you do every day, the first thing that you do every day, it will become that. Because we can any business that you run, any type of sales thing, you can build spreadsheets, you can do a million tasks in the day and get just tons of stuff done, stuff that other people should be doing in your organization. That's why you hire and have other people doing that. But at the end of the day, it has to be the most important thing. Now, for me, that's what it is. Cold calls, whatever the calls are for you, I think it is the single most important. Now, sometimes that I've heard people say that doing what I'm doing right now, to be out in front of people trying to build that in the marketplace, is it. If that's it, and that's your method of using it to get out there, then make that the first thing that you do every day, or the most important thing, that you block that time out and nothing else gets in there. So I think we've underscored the benefits, right? There's the benefits that you get from consistently making your cold calls. Today was on tips to do that, to block, block your time out. For me, print a list so I can physically see a list of 20 people that I'm going to make my calls with, and just block that time out. So in the afternoon, people aren't going to be able to, if the next day somebody wants to set an appointment, don't break that appointment with yourself and making those calls, right? If you're doing it from 9 to 11, do not go to show a property if you can't show at any other time, right? I mean, you got to use wisdom in doing this, but I'm trying to say how important is that one showing if you don't make your 20 calls, right? It's really important, and I think that that's really the lesson for today, to do that, and it's about building that muscle memory and your consistency that's going to build confidence, communicating with your clients, becoming an expert, and becoming top of mind. That's where you want to be, top of mind. People feel comfortable talking to you, it's easy to talk to you, and that's how you build it. There's no other way to do it to the level that I'm discussing. Now listen, it's more important now than ever before. 20 years ago, we didn't have the same distractions. 20 years ago, we still had a hard time having myself or our agents making their calls because it's cold calls. It's harder. We are a distracted people. We're distracted. Our attention spans have got down to whatever the time frame that TikTok or a short is. And man, we have so many distractions. That's why I point out, and whatever it is for you, you have to find that. But for me, not be on the computer, turn off the notifications on my phone, and print out a list. The number's right there. I don't even have to look in my phone, which is actually what I do. It's there, the phone number's there. I print it out there so I can just dial direct. I don't have to look their name up. Of course, I have their name in my phone, so it's going to bring it up when I do it. And I personally don't like the auto dialer. I know a lot of people love that because it's automatically going to call that next call. But I've worked with it before. I've seen people use it. You can override it. I don't want to make the call right now. Mine is just like, take your notes, take the stuff, and make the next call. That's what works for me, and it is all about blocking that time out. And as a precursor to what we've got coming up as well, we are going to have, I guess it'd be more training videos. We've had a lot of people actually reach out to us and say, hey, I love this stuff. Where do I start? How do I know where to call? Where do I pick a location? Do I pick an area? And we have that all laid out, and we'll start to release those videos. Some of it may be subscription based, but look out for that. We'll drop some of those for free as well. We want to encourage and have what I always say, my best competitors are the ones that are doing it right. There's a lot of sloppiness in every single business, and commercial real estate's no exception. I want to convey and to the clients that we're trying to save you time so you can have a better life, and that's all we have. Everything I've said today is blocking out time so that we have time after hours. We're not working till midnight. Sometimes you have to do that anyway. The point is being an expert and having all of these things at your fingertips so that you're blocking out and doing the most important work that you can. I want you to try this out. Please. I know this will change your life. And so here's where I'm going with this. I would love to hear your comments back. I said it takes about a month to build this to where you can't plan your day or week out. This is the number one thing. That's what you'll find at the end of a month. Anybody that does this and tries it out and it's not totally life-changing, because that's what I'm talking about, a totally life-changing experience that you're going to do that implement into your business, I guarantee this is it. So please reach back to us. Let us know if you've had that type of, or the challenges that you're having. And if you do that, I would love for you to come on the show and discuss this with me to where we can actually have a good banter back and forth as to how life-changing this was for you, because I guarantee that that's what it'll do. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share. Life short, be happy.